Well, hello, human A and P people, or maybe I should call you human A and peeps. Welcome to our dissection, online dissection, if you will, virtual, whatever you want to call it. I have Clyde here again. We're going to redo what we tried to do with the Zoom last week. So, you can take notes. I'm going to ask you to, write down some things that you learned and submit that on Power School Learning. And so, if I redo some of my jokes from the Zoom, and I apologize for that. Well, maybe I don't apologize for that, but anyway, well, let's get started. We'll take a look at Clyde here. And if you recall, if you were on the Zoom, we did open up the abdominal cavity. We cut up through the middle of the rectus abdominis muscles, and then margins along, the bottoms of the ribs, etc. Okay, and we open it up like so, and we'll zoom in so that you get a better view of things. Of course, right here, this is the anterior portion of the abdominal cavity, and then this over here is the posterior. In humans, it would be different. It would be this would be superior, and this would be inferior, because we have a different anatomical position. Yes. So the main things that you can see in the abdominal cavity would be the liver, and you'll notice that it's divided up into multiple lobes. Right below the liver, this little flap that you can see is the stomach. Okay. And then we have the small intestine, and this right here is the spleen. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so the liver takes up a great portion of the anterior portion of the abdominal cavity, and it's divided up into lobes. That helps increase the surface area. If you open up these two lobes right here, you can see there's a little balloon-like structure right here. We'll move it, and we'll zoom in a little bit. Right there, that would be the gallbladder. Okay, and you just finished up the worksheet on the digestive system, and of course the gallbladder stores bile, which is produced by the liver. Okay, and the liver has many functions. One of them being production of bile. It also stores glycogen. It helps recycle blood a little bit. It's also a major detox center. Okay, so if we zoom back out a little bit again, here we can see the stomach, and the stomach is pretty distended. Okay, and I accidentally cut into it a little bit, but we'll open it up later and see what's on the inside. The remains right here of what you see here, this is the remains of the greater omentum. I don't know if you remember that, but it was an apron-like covering of the the small intestine. It functions in, well, protection. It also stores fat, and it also helps with immunity. So backing off a little bit again here, this is the spleen. Right along here on the left side of the abdominal cavity, and the spleen is involved with the circulatory system, and it helps with recycling of blood cells, red blood cells. I guess is the main function of that. Okay, so small intestine takes up a great portion of the abdominal cavity, and let's see, here's the stomach again, and there you can see right here, this is the beginning of the small intestine. It's coming off of the stomach. So the first part of the small intestine is called the duodenum. The small intestine is kind of held together by a lot of this membrane structure. This is called the mesentery. It's kind of translucent. It has blood vessels, and of course all these blood vessels are taking nutrients away from the small intestine, where most of the digestion and absorption of food takes place. Oh, that's the end of the mod. Time to go. So the small intestine takes up most of that. Normally what we do later on is we would take these out and we would measure the length of the small intestine. The large intestine is right here, part of it. This is the descending colon right here. And then down here you can see, if you lift up, this is the urinary bladder right here. Lifting the urinary bladder up, you can see the sigmoid colon, and then the rectum would be down below. So this is the descending colon. If we follow it up, it comes across here. This is the transverse colon. Okay, and that's the middle portion of the large intestine. And then if we follow it back, this is the ascending colon. Okay, so if we open this up a little bit here, this is where this is the last portion of the small intestine right here, and that empties into the large intestine right here. And you'll notice that once again this is a blind sac, kind of hangs off of this junction between the small and the large. This is called the cecum. Okay, and you know, to redo a joke from last week, you know, there's a phrase in the Bible, you know, seek 'em ye shall find. Ha ha ha. All right, I'm getting a response here about the same as I would if you were right here with me. Anyway, so in humans, hanging off of the cecum right about here would be a small finger-like projection called the appendix. Cats don't have one. Okay, so that's one difference between a cat and a human, is that they don't have an appendix. The appendix is a vestigial organ. Nobody really knows what it was used for. It just has no use anymore. Anyway, so large intestine, this is the urinary bladder. We'll check that out more later when we study the urinary system. If we open this up a little bit more, you can see the back wall. This would be the superior wall of the abdominal cavity. This big blue thing here is the right kidney, and then the left kidney is over here. Okay, you'll notice that the kidney appears blue. That's from the latex injection that the cat got when they were processed. Okay, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more here. Wrong way. Okay. So, once again, the kidney. Clear away some of this tissue so you can see a little bit better. The hilus of the kidney is this little indentation. The blue thing that you see right here, that would be the renal vein. And the renal artery is usually a little bit deeper, harder to see. But it's that pink thing right there. That's the renal artery. Okay, renal refers to kidney. This tube coming off of the kidney, coming off of the hilus of the kidney, is the ureter, and that goes all the way down, and then urine that's produced in the kidney travels down this to the bladder, okay, to be stored temporarily. Let's go a bit over to the left kidney. The left kidney right here, okay, is the left kidney. You see a little bean. I'm going to move this a little bit right here. Here you see another vein. This blue vein is the adrenal vein. And then you see this little bean right here that lies underneath it that I'm kind of moving around. That's the adrenal gland. And of course that produces adrenaline, also known as epinephrine. It also produces corticosteroids, like cortisone, aldosterone, which regulates urine. Also, there are glucocorticoids that are similar to insulin that regulate carbohydrate metabolism. Okay, so the other things that we'll take a quick look at are the blood vessels of the abdomen. The main one that you see here, the blue right here, is the vena cava. So this would be the posterior vena cava. In humans, we would call it the inferior vena cava, and it runs the whole length of the abdomen, and it carries blood back up to the heart. Located behind it, this structure right here, it's hard to see because it's got a thicker wall, but it has pink latex in it. This is the abdominal aorta, so this is carrying blood away from the heart down to the lower extremities and the leg. Okay, if we follow it down, you can see the vena cava and the aorta split into the iliac. This would be the left common iliac, and this would be the right common iliac arteries. And then the corresponding vein right below it. So they split and go into the legs, becoming the femoral arteries and veins. Okay, so I think that covers pretty much everything in the abdominal cavity. I think we'll call it quits for now. Next week we'll open up the chest, and we'll get a chance to study the urinary system a little bit, the endocrine system. You'll do that online, and then also a little bit on the cardiovascular system. So, I guess we'll bid adieu now. Adios, Clyde. We'll talk to you later. I hope you guys are doing well and maintaining. It's just, it's been tough, I know. And like I said, I hope you're doing well, and we'll talk to you later. So long.